Okay. Now we will move to a commemorative presentation by the National Association of Counties. We seem to have a very active morning before we get into the meat of our agenda. So next, I'm pleased to recognize Jonathan Shuffield from the National Association of Counties. He's joining us today to recognize this board and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office regarding our efforts during the elections of 2020. Mr. Shuffield, please come up to the podium. He's there. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to the members of the Board of Supervisors and for everybody who attended today. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Jonathan Shuffield, and I'm an Associate Legislative Director at the National Association of Counties. I'm here today not only on behalf of NACo, but also as a proud resident of Maricopa County. NACo would like to thank the members of the Board of Supervisors, our county attorney, and Mr. Tom Liddy from the County Attorney's Office for your tremendous public service, leadership, and statesmanship during last year's election. Thank you for standing up for our county's unimpeachable record in conducting free and fair elections and accepting the outcome. Thank you for showing true political courage by putting our democracy first. We present these handcrafted pens as a recognition of your outstanding service during this divisive time in our nation's history. These pens are handcrafted here in the United States by a small company named after Jacob Chalice, the engrosser of the U.S. Constitution, whose handwritten version of the Constitution is on display in the National Archives in Washington, D.C. NACo appreciates the leadership you've shown as local officials. And if you'll allow me a quick point of personal privilege. As someone who chose to make Maricopa County my home, I personally thank you for standing up for my fundamental rights as a citizen. It really feels good to know people of integrity oversee my local government. Thank you for your service to our community and for the example you set.
Thank you, and I'm going to ask the board and our county attorney's office to come up for a group picture. And I also would like to ask our county manager, who of course has been an integral part of all of this, to join us, as I would like to have Craig join us as well.
You know they're going to throw rocks at us after this.
I knew. Just wait for Twitter to
Yeah.
You and I can throw it back.
That's
Yeah.
right.
My wife told me it's a good thing I'm not on social media at all.
Oh, you're probably, today probably. Are we socially distanced?
We have some on the right. There you go. Wrap around. Yeah.
Craig, can I have you move behind Supervisor Gates there a little bit? See everybody's face. You guys take their picture.
Yeah, right there. I'll go.
Okay. Are we all smiling behind the mask? I know, my joke's in.
Thanks so much.
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much.
Should we have you take the Arizona holiday?
Yes, actually, because you know what, we're going to
Yes.
yeah, but he said.
Mr. Chairman, if I may briefly, it's been a lot of work since November 3rd, and I want to make sure that the public knows that it's not just the county attorney and one of her senior attorneys that does all that work. I want to thank Jeanette Barksdale, Veronica Cisneros, Sonia Kautzman, who are unsung heroes in this. as well as Joe Branco, Joe Vigil, Joe LaRue, the Joes as we call them, and Emily Krager, who really led this team in order to represent the county employees who work so hard, not on election day, but for years and months preparing for elections. And nobody knows that better than you supervisors who yourselves work very hard year after year, making tough decisions in order to prepare for an election. And at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, it's been an honor, an absolute honor to represent you and your employees.
Thank you, Mr. Liddy. Comments, questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. I'm speechless. I mean, thank you for what you said, your words. It means a lot. We don't hear that every day, so thank you. I appreciate that, and I consider it one of the honors of my career to have been a part of this board, but particularly over the last 6 months. And as a lawyer, I can't thank you, Alistair, Tom, and your entire team. What has been done here is something that people will talk about for many years, and the hard work that you've done, and again, always doing what's right, following the law, upholding the rule of law. That's what it's all about. And I believe that one day again, we will all believe in the rule of law. But I know that this team does, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Gallardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First and foremost, thank you, National Association of Counties, for coming down and giving us this recognition. Couldn't be more pleased to hear your remarks, and I couldn't agree more with what Supervisor Gates has indicated once again. Thank you, Tom and Alistair. Your whole team has just been awesome. This has not been an easy year. It hasn't. Yes, this last 6 months has been a little tense, but nonetheless, I really believe that we have stood up for what is right, not only for our Constitution and our laws, but for just the fundamental right of democracy. I've always said this, it's the most fundamental right we have as Americans, is that right to vote, that free access to the ballot box, to be able to choose who's going to be sitting up here. And we have stood up and made sure that will always be protected. I'm the lone Democrat amongst 4 Republicans, but I would never pick any other 4 individuals to serve with. I am so honored to serve with the 4 gentlemen that are on this board. Couldn't pick 4 classier gentlemen to work with. They have stood up. They have did what is right, and stood up for our Constitution and our laws, and that's all we can ever ask for from our elected officials, of course. As a former election employee, I say this all the time, because it's our hardworking, and Bill mentioned this, it's our hardworking elections officials. These are professional staffers that work an entire year, sometimes year and a half, to put together one day of voting. I've been there with them, and I know how much work they do. For a whole year, they don't see their families. They don't go on vacation. They miss, their child baseball games or their daughter's gymnastics or school event, because they're there in the elections department putting together this hard work. So it is those folks that have just really been under attack. And folks may throw rocks at us, and then let them. But it's those hardworking elections officials that put everything they can on election day. They do it for a whole year. And that is what I think is so critical to recognize. And I couldn't be more happier to be part of this board. I know this is not yet over. I think we're still in the middle of this ongoing exercise. But nonetheless, I think at the end of the day, democracy will prevail, and we will continue to have a form of government that is represented form of government. And couldn't be more prouder to be on this board, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Chukri.
I didn't realize Mr. Gardo was a Democrat until just now, so that was amazing to hear. I would echo both of my colleagues' comments, and I think Mr. Gates let out very well with his comments. There's a saying that I've said several times that is apropos here too. It's slow and steady is fast. And I think that's what the county attorney's office did under extraordinary circumstances the past year. Our distinguished county attorney had heard challenges, and yet the ship stayed afloat and kept going in the right direction. So none of this is easy, and Mr. Gallardo said it correctly. We signed up for this, so criticism and everything else comes apart, but as a part of that role. But to keep the focus and keep the direction while people are screaming in your ears, that's not always easy to block out the noise. And I think we did that. I think we did the right thing. We didn't always agree, but we agreed on principle and how to move forward as one Maricopa County and one, I would argue, Maricopa County family. So there are days ahead still yet, but look, I'm looking forward to working on these other issues in my district, and all of us have them. We know that. Mr. Chairman, you yourself said, I've got an agenda as chairman that I need to carry out. So I look forward to actually embracing this. I want to thank the National Association of Counties. Apparently, the gentleman speaking today, Scott, we've got some mutual friends, and so thank you for taking the time, and I'm glad you're a resident. Hopefully you live in my district because the sun shines a lot brighter. Quality of life is much better than the other four. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll get back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Supervisor Hickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and echoing all the words of my colleagues, especially Supervisor Gallardo, that it's been a very much of a pleasure. And I will look back on this past year and a half, not with the eyes towards a critic, but with the eyes towards an appreciation for the people that I served with during this extremely turbulent time. Reminding everyone that there were not just one election, 3 elections run during a pandemic that we planned for, set up for, and kept our people safe. So I will always look back in appreciation with that, no matter what this environment and the turbulence that's going on with this, as Supervisor Gallardo said, this exercise that's going on down the street brings us. We'll just, as always, we will take the information under advisement and act accordingly. I've asked everyone, and we've stayed professional, service-oriented to the county taxpayer. Elections by nature and the administration of elections, this democracy calls for bipartisanship, actually just calls us all into being Americans. And I think that we perform that and continue to perform that exceedingly well. We're not Republicans, we're not Democrats, we're not independents, we're Americans when it comes to elections. And Maricopa County stood up. I appreciate the National Association of Counties to come here and talk to us and award us, as well as our attorney's office, talk about elections. Maybe elections work the hardest in that group, and Scott Jarrett, and now the people under Stephen Richer. But our attorney's office has been fantastic through this, advising our board and staying in the law. Mr. Gates said it very well. We're staying within the Constitution, and to find out a pen modeled on somebody that wrote the Constitution, we've been staying in that. We will reflect back. I think history will judge us kindly as Americans administering this election. I appreciate the counties, big, tall, short, and small, taking a look at this and seeing the steps that we took in order to administer a fair election. And I think that's what we are going to find out, just like what we all have in our hearts, that this election was run fair, with integrity, and with hard work, asking for volunteers Think about that. All the volunteers that gave their time and effort into this election in this county. I was able to go to Wickenburg, and sometimes I wonder if we are in a echo chamber when it comes to some of this. And I found out with my dealings in Wickenburg with 30 people in a room giving our county kudos. Remember, Wickenburg has a county line that runs through it. Yavapai on one side and Maricopa County, and I'll talk about that in what I found out during my supervisor comments. But thank you guys. I am really hoping, I hear that she's in the audience. I'm hoping Alistair Adele can come up a little bit and talk with pride in how her staff worked during a very tough time for that office. So hopefully she'll have the ability to talk a little bit too. But thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I inappropriately called Jonathan Scott, so Jonathan, forgive me. I apologize.
Alistair, would you like to say a few words?
Well, good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. Supervisor Hickman, thank you for calling me up here. I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here, but I have to say this isn't necessarily about me. It's Tom Liddy, who's sitting behind me, and his team, who did a tremendous amount of work. We're just proud to be here to support our supervisors, our elections, the rule of law, and of course, all of our county citizens. I do want to thank NACo for this award. I mean, what an honor, especially during what all of us have said, turbulent times. This has been a trying year for all of us on many, many fronts. It is an honor and a privilege to receive this award and to work with all of you. And I echo comments that perhaps this isn't over, but we're going to continue to what we do as a county and hold our head high and work with integrity and do the right thing for the right reasons. So thank you again for this. And thank you, Supervisor Hickman, for inviting me up here, and Supervisor Sellers and the other supervisors for this. Thanks.
Well, thank you for all you do. And I will echo all the comments from the other supervisors. You know, it's just so gratifying to hear some positive reinforcement for the effort that we put into this. You know, we have in fact been so careful to follow the law every step of the way through a pandemic that brought some new challenges. When there are any questions, we not only conferred with our attorney's office, they conferred with the Secretary of State, with the legislature, with the Attorney General, with the governor's office. We all did, to ensure that we were always staying within Arizona law and the Constitution on everything that we did. And I'm proud of what we accomplished through that. And to Supervisor Chukri's point, I can't say enough about how proud I am that through everything we've done, we are one Maricopa County. We're one team. You know, whether it be the recorder's office, the treasurer's office, the attorney's office, the county manager's office, we are all one team. We're all in this together. And when we go out, we are all speaking about the same thing, and all understand that what we did was doing things right. You know, I appreciate that in an election, there are going to be times that the candidate that we like isn't successful. And the most difficult part of that is when the facts are truly presented to you, accepting the truth and moving on. And I hope we can get there. So thank you all.